My name is Shehade.
And my name is Halim Aqil.
And we are your hosts for tonight for Arab Expressions 2018. And to kick off the Arab Heritage Month is tonight's Expression show, which the Arab Heritage Month is 8 weeks of events.
Wait, Jad, you mean 2 months?
You know we need twice the amount of time to get the work done.
Okay.
8 weeks of events across campus throughout the semester. And as you cannot see behind me because you should eventually get a copy of your own, but we have many workshops, we have a faculty panel, we have a celebration dinner at the end of the semester, so definitely check those out on your way.
We also have 3 Snapchat filters to document your experience tonight.
Oh.
Mine either. Well, we can't take a group selfie, but check them out.
Nice.
Jad, can you believe that we're actually in the Power Center this year?
We're talking about 1,400 seats tonight. And we started this out in the dorm? Do you remember this?
Oh yeah, I do, back in the day. We then moved to the fishbowl,
where all the idols pretend to study.
Then we moved to the diag,
which is interesting actually. Can we pause on this really quickly? So shout out to the Michigan Daily, we love you, but we know you make mistakes. Let's read the caption right up here. I know a few of you are in the audience in this picture as well. But so the caption says, members of Arab Expression.
Expression, only expression.
A coalition of Muslim groups.
Yes, some of us here are Muslim, but we're Arab first.
Participate in flash mob on the diet yesterday.
All right, we're not that violent, all right? We need to stop doing these stereotypes. Come on, Daily.
I mean, we do riot sometimes, so I give you that. TEDx event.
Oh yeah, do you remember that TEDx event? Teach me how to Dabke?
Teach me how to Dabke. But before we get into that, actually, let's look at the past pictures from before. So this was us in the Union. High quality pictures. Look at that resolution. Wow.
And then we moved to the Michigan League.
Which was last year. Look at my double chin.
And then, like I said, we made a big jump to the Power Center where we are tonight.
You gotta mention the Arab meet and greet.
Oh yeah, a lot has happened since last year's big Arab Expressions event. We had our first ever Arab meet and greet.
So what it was is over 130 Arab undergraduate students were networking with graduate students on campus. And it wasn't just about medicine, law, and engineering.
No, Jad, it was only about medicine, law, and engineering. Let's check out this figure. Okay, look at this. 55 students interested in medical school. All right, congrats to our future doctors out there. We need you. 45 students for engineering. Yeah, you guys gotta build things. You guys, you got some law school students. All right. So look at that, one student interested in education. I wonder who that could be.
I'm sorry, Halima, that's too bad.
Do you remember that?
That was the TEDx event.
Oh yeah, the TEDx event. You remember that?
Teach me how to Dabke.
Oh yeah, teach me how to Dabke.
But it wasn't a lot of teaching, it was a lot of yelling at each other is what I remember. And we do have a video.
Oh yeah. Right? And we also made the front cover of the Michigan Daily. So yeah, shout out to the Michigan Daily, you did something good.
And shout out to Mark Stefani as well. And here's the video.
Parents, these are your kids that you raised to Dabke on walls. Good luck with them.
Honestly, the funniest part of the year is when we tried creating a governing board for Middle Eastern North African students. You don't remember this? We called it the MENA Consortium.
What are you talking about? I've never heard of this before. Wait, I remember, it was in my calendar. Oh yeah, look, there were some events back in December. Let me look at January, nothing. Oh, and let's go to February. Look, Arab Expressions
still don't know what consortium means, so I don't know how we got into that.
But honestly, my favorite part was Divest.
After 15 years and 11 attempts, University of Michigan's Central Student Government finally passes a resolution to investigate,
just investigate,
into companies that fund governments who commit human rights violations. And it just so happens to be, it's against the Palestinian community.
The history of this at the University of Michigan is very important, as Arab students have been organizing since the 1960s. We must recognize them for planting the seeds for us organizers, and we must also recognize the many communities, especially the Latinx and Black community, for their constant support. Of the Divest campaign over the last few years.
And finally, on November 14, 2017, at 3:15 a.m.
With 23 votes in favor, 17 against, and 5 abstentions, AR 7-019 passes.
And you remember what happened after, at around what, 3:30 a.m.?
Oh yeah, at 3:30 a.m. to celebrate this amazing accomplishment. We obviously Dabke'd.
But honestly, you mentioned this, and I just have to reiterate this. I mean, the community building that we have developed with other communities of color on campus, especially the Latinx community. Is La Casa here tonight? There you go. So La Casa is the Latinx student organization on campus, and ASA, the Arab Student Association, collaborated with them about a month ago, where we had over 240 Arab and Latinx students come together and eat shawarma,
plantains,
fattoush,
tres leches,
and you know we had the longest Dabke line in the history of U of M. Let's see it. But we can't, you didn't think I'd forget, did you?
I thought you would forget, I wish you did.
We could not forget another big movement on campus.
Oh my God, here we go again. Jad talks about this movement all the time. Let's hear it, Jad.
We exist. A campaign led by students, faculty, and staff to advocate on campus, on all 3 campuses, Ann Arbor, Dearborn, and Flint, to implement the Middle Eastern North African identity category on all university documents. And after meeting with representatives from all 3 campuses, meeting with the president, the provost's office, and presenting at the Regents meeting, these are the shirts that we created, the We Are Not Other and We Exist shirts. And these are the pictures just before our Regents meeting. And finally, the university has agreed to implement the category.
Let's give Jad a huge round of applause for leading this amazing effort. His hard work has helped us today. And I have to say, Mabruk Jad, I am so proud of you.
You should be proud of our community, Halima. So we have a long night ahead of us. We have many skits, talent, and you know there's a lot of Dabke. And to kick off our first skit, Coming to College.
Enjoy.
And then I'm back.
We're here! Come on, Habib, come here!
Got it.
Thank you. Keep them warm.
La 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 la, you have to say bye to your sister.
This? It'll end the traffic a little bit.
خذ البونبون جيب شي حبيب
لا استطيعها مير.
خذها
MCs are unmuted.
Please welcome our first Dabke group of the night, Al-Mughamirin. That's a really cool necklace.
Do you ever wonder what exactly your Arab roommate is bringing to the dorm? Well, don't worry, because we've compiled the most experienced Arabs at U of M to give you the rundown on all of our basic necessities.
Do you want to fit in on game day? Grab a great bottle of Aziza. All the fun with none of the haram. Delicious.
Every time you have guests, diet them with shy.
Yalla, Abdul Shy Allah!
Spinach and artichoke? Everything hummus? That's just disrespectful. You don't need fancy packaging and crazy flavors. Real hummus is simple.
Shehade, to be worn in the shower or just at home. Where's the other one?
If you're anything like me, nothing grinds your gears more than awkward silences and small talk.
Boy, do we have a solution for you. Pull out the mesbah.
How halal am I? Extra virgin.
Can't serve a balding head or can't find a wife? Just have some honey.
Are you worried that misfortune is upon you?
You have a crappy party? Just fill out your Dabke and show off your skills.
Are you ever feeling for a night of just hanging out and getting high on life? Grab a cup of method.
Need a comfy outfit for studying? We got you covered.
Do you ever feel like toilet paper just isn't enough?
Has anyone seen Jazz? Anyone? I wonder where he went. Let me try calling him. If my phone will unlock. Eventually. Anyone?
Hi, this is Jed, your favorite host who's about to perform. Give it up for the next Dabke group, Oweiss.
His favorite host. Okay. in the audience since we have a large group of Arabs. So who here is from Dearborn? Okay. What about Bloomfield Hills, Farmington Hills? And our out-of-staters? I can't tell who won, but... Oh, Chicago, okay, whatever. Please welcome our first talent of the night, the one and only Sabaya Dabke, who will be singing Teenage Fantasy. Your favorite host, okay.
So what Halim and I did in the past month is walked around campus and as students about Arab, about our culture, about our countries, and about our food. And what we came to wonder is how are we the #1 public university in the country?
Let's see what you think. How many countries do you think are in the Arab world?
Probably about 7.
7? Okay.
Maybe like 15. I'd say probably 17.
12.
Oh, I don't know if that's a trick question, because there could be Arabs on every country. 30 around? I should know 22, because there's 22 in the Arab League.
Okay.
Okay, so...
Where are the other 8?
I'm just going to throw a number up there and say 20s, mid-20s.
That's not bad. 22. 22. Okay, cool.
And can you name like 3 of them?
3 of them? Kazakhstan. Azerbaijan. I don't know.
Let's say this nation state of Palestine, obviously. You got Lebanon, Syria.
Israel, Afghanistan,
One might say U.S. is a country or no?
I'm not very good with geography.
That's okay.
Pakistan, Lebanon.
Syria, Lebanon, Palestine, Israel. No? Egypt. So you got 5 right there. That's not bad for a law student. Where do you think hummus originated from? Hummus? Yeah. The food? Yeah, the food. Like the pita and the,
I really have no idea.
I don't think it is there because like almost the concept of hummus.
You know, I have no idea how we can provide hummus.
Really? You should.
What is the main ingredient in hummus?
Oh, chickpeas. Nice. I make hummus sometimes, so honestly, avocado.
Avocado?
Well, chickpeas.
Is it more like lamb? No.
That's cool. No. How old do you think is the Arabic language?
Oh my gosh.
I don't even know how old English is. 100 years?
600?
6,000. 3,000 or 4,000 years old.
50,000 years.
50,000?
1,500 years old?
Wow. Right on. Like,
really?
Perfect. How many Arab students do you think are at the University of Michigan?
Okay. 6% or less? 6%?
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to speak a different language from English, and you just have to detect what that language is.
Okay.
You think it's simple, right?
No.
شكله هيدا منه عارف شيء.
Lebanese.
Is it here? Lebanese speak this language.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh, so I was kind of close.
Yeah. Now I'll talk some more. شعرات وش حلوين كتير
Is it Greek?
Who are the people in the Middle East?
What are they called?
Like the Islams?
Maybe like Arabic?
Yeah.
Nice.
Arabic?
Arabic?
Yeah.
Starts with A. Yeah, Arabic.
Arabic. Yeah, Arabic is a language. Arab is the people.
And welcome back to Islam's Xpressions.
Hey, Jack, at least our future business leaders of the world know something about Arabs.
That's a good point.
It is.
Our next Dabke group for tonight is, please help us welcome Freedom Dancers.
Let's give them another big round of applause.
Our next talent for tonight is Aboud, Oweiss, and Abdulsalam.
Give it up for them.
هذا أخوي.
فإذا تفتحت الشفاه ثوانيا نورت دنيانا وأحييت القتيل بنظرة لا تبخلي جودي عليه بنظرة لا تبخلي لا 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 تبخلي لا لا تبخلي لا بتغير ولا بتحول مشتاق لك يا نور عيوني مشتاق لك يا نور عيوني مشتاق لك يا نور عيوني حتى نعيد الزمن الأول مشتاق لك يا نور عيوني حتى نعيد الزمن الأول حتى نعيد الزمن الأول يلا تعالي كفاني تعالي
Give it up for Aboud and Abdulsalam one more time.
Please welcome one of my personal favorites of the night, and Sabaya. Let's give them another round of applause. Next up, we have a very special guest to join us this evening.
He's a U of M alum, a public health expert, a physician, and candidate for governor for the state of Michigan. Please help us welcome Dr. Abdul.
Can I just have another round of applause for the incredible organizers and the incredible performers here tonight? I have to tell you, it's only been about 11 years since I graduated from this university, and the degree to which the Arab American community has come into its own on this campus, I think, is on full display here tonight, and it's an incredible thing to see. I want to tell you, I was never supposed to run for office. My dad, if he knew that he was leaving politics in Egypt to come here so that his son could grow up and run for office, he'd have stayed back in Muscat. But I want to tell you about a conversation I shared with somebody when I graduated from this university back in 2007. I had the privilege and honor of being the commencement speaker. I was the valedictorian of LS&A. And so I got the opportunity to deliver the commencement speech. And the real speaker, who anybody, including my own parents, came to see that day was President Bill Clinton. And on a side note, for all of you Arab kids whose parents never tell you that they're proud of you, it took President Clinton saying I did a good job in my speech for my dad to finally come up and say, you know, Allah, you're not that bad. So he gave his speech, I gave my speech, he gave his speech, and he mentioned me in his speech, and he came up to me after the conversation. He said, can I ask you a question? I said, yeah, of course. So why are you going to medical school? And I looked at him for a minute, I was like, well, you didn't get the memo, I'm brown, that's what we do. But I told him, I was like, look, I love people and I love science, and this is how I think I want to serve people. He just looked at me for a minute and said, you know, I hope that someday you might consider running for office. And the first thing that came to my mind was, Mr. President, I appreciate that, thank you. But I don't know if you saw my first name. It's Abdurrahman, in all 11 letters of glory. That's just not going to happen for me, right? But I really appreciate you saying that. And that sort of lodged in the back of my mind. My father is an immigrant. He came here from Alexandria, Egypt in 1978, believing in a society that was big enough for all of us. He met and married a woman who couldn't have come from different circumstances. That's my stepmother, Jackie, who raised me. Born and raised in Gratiot County, Michigan. She's the 6th generation born and raised here in Michigan. She draws her lineage all the way back to Abigail Adams. Funny story, my name is Abdul, that's what everybody calls me in English. The reason I'm named Abdul is because I started school in 1989, and my stepmom was like, look, if this kid tries to go to school as Abdurrahman, it's going to be trouble for everybody. So we got to find something else. Now, who knows who was topping the charts in the summer of 1989? Paula Abdul. So straight up, I became Abdul. 8 years later, my parents are like, you know, for this next one, we've got to give him a name that's just a little bit more approachable. How about Sam, with O on the front, A on the back? What could go wrong? So my little brother became Osama. Now here's the funny thing about Osama, my brother. Osama, my brother, draws his descendancy to the Revolutionary War. He's like the only blue blood Osama in the entire country. So, growing up in a family like this one, I knew I loved people. I had the opportunity to engage with my grandmother, smartest, wisest person I've ever met. Never had the chance to get an education. She was illiterate. And I would spend my summers with her. She'd kiss me on the forehead, tell me to eat more, or in my case, eat less. And, you know, and tell me I was being an idiot. And then I'd come back other half of the summer and I'd hang out at Montcalm County on a lake that my family's had a cottage on for 90 years. And my other grandma, Judy, right, she'd tell me the same things, just a little bit more, stop eating your food, she's a nurse. And it turns out that when your grandma kisses you on the forehead, your grandma tells you that she loves you, it's the same. There's something about humanity that is far bigger than the differences that we've come to know. But for me, I knew I wanted to serve people. I wanted to serve that thing in humanity, and that's why I wanted to become a doctor. Came to appreciate that somebody who studied biology and politics, that we spend a lot of time on the biology when we think about health, but we don't spend as much time on the politics. Because if biology is a set of rules by which our cells make complex decisions about scarce resources in our bodies, politics is just a set of rules by which our communities make complex decisions about scarce resources in society. And if you want to know why people get sick, we focus a lot on the biology. We don't focus nearly enough on the politics. Access to a good job, pays a living wage, puts a good roof over someone's head, puts clean air in their lungs, clean water in their cups, allows them to walk in their communities without being victimized by either a neighbor or the state itself. These are the things that pattern health and disease. And for me, I didn't want to be a part of practicing one patient at a time medicine in a system that had been so focused on profits. Instead, I wanted to think about the things that were ailing my patients as they walked into the room in the first place. And so I dedicated my career to public health. Now I want to tell you why in the end I ended up running. Because in that moment I had the opportunity to serve the city of Detroit. I walked into a health department that had 5 city employees and 85 contractors. In the back of the building where people pay parking tickets, a department that had been shut down when the city of Detroit went bankrupt and faced emergency management. And in that moment I was looking for some kind of inspiration, and I got to meet a little boy. His name was Demarius. He was 3 years old, 4th child of a 21-year-old mom, met his father maybe 4 times in his entire life. But this boy, he had this confidence, this swagger. When he walked into the room, you could feel it. And when I was introduced to him, most of the time when you're introduced to a child, they kind of look away. They don't want to see your face, right? They're embarrassed. This kid didn't do that. Walked right up to me, gave me a big handshake, gave me a big hug, and walked back to his mom. And I thought about the kind of confidence that this boy had relative to the challenges he faced in his life. Higher probability of dying before the age of 1 in Detroit than in my father's native Egypt. Triple the probability of being hospitalized for asthma, quadruple the probability of being exposed to lead than the state average. But then he had this confidence. He taught me more about public health and frankly government in that 10 minutes than I had learned in my entire 7 years of grad school. Because public health and government ought to be about justifying the kind of confidence that any 3-year-old should have in the life that he or she is going to lead. Now, a lot has been made in thinking about a guy named Abdul, not Paula, running for governor. People ask, aren't there so many barriers? What are they going to think of you? But I have to ask myself, what is our responsibility here and now? It is such a privilege to watch how this Arab American community has blossomed. And so much of what brings us to the table today is asking about how it is that we contribute to the social fabric that makes us Americans to begin with. It shouldn't matter what the prefix on American is, you should just be American, regardless if that's Arab American or African American or Indian American or any other kind of American. But in this moment, as we confront the obstacles that are in front of us, let's remember that America was always about a set of ideals. My dad took a bet on those ideals when he came here in '78. One of them, for me, that I'll always think through, is that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all people are created equal. And if that's true, we have to ask ourselves how it is that we are bending that curve of justice to empower everyone. Because when we ask ourselves about our obstacles, we should also be asking ourselves about our values. For us, it's not enough to just be included. It's not enough to just break down barriers for ourselves. Because the responsibility of being a part of public space, of being a part of public service, is that you believe in a set of values that suggest that your work is about breaking down barriers for someone else. And so for me, when I think about the responsibility of running, it's not just about breaking barriers. It's about thinking about the world that would create the opportunities that that little boy deserves in his life. Because if we want to know what the manifestation of injustice in our society looks like, it's the fact that a 3-year-old little boy growing up in Detroit to a single mom doesn't have access to the means of the best, most dignified life that we would want for any of our children anywhere. That responsibility, that's what ought to bring us to the table. I want to talk about something. Oftentimes there's a conversation about safe spaces, about the idea that it is challenging to be and do as a person of color on campuses and communities just like this. I think it's important to protect spaces like that. But I also think it's important for all of us to embrace the fact that once we get out of that safe space, sometimes the world's not safe. But however challenging it is for us, however much it is harder because of our name or our faith or the color of our skin, let's remember that others have it bad too. And that those challenges that we face, the obstacles in front of us, history will ask us what we did to break those obstacles down for the people who came behind us and for the people who never had a shot at facing those obstacles at all. And so in this moment, as we ask ourselves and we celebrate our culture and we celebrate our unity and we celebrate our opportunities, let's make sure that we are dedicating ourselves to breaking down the barriers as we see them, every time we see them, not just for ourselves, but for the people that we serve. Because if we do that, we are embracing a long tradition of what it means to hold ourselves to that ideal of a more perfect union. Appreciating that it's not perfect as it stands, and yet we do the work of perfecting it, which means that moving forward, our challenges are their challenges are our challenges, and together we do this work of completing and perfecting America. Thank you.
Please give Dr. Abdoulsalam another round of applause. And for those of you who can vote, and regardless of who you're voting for, please mark your calendars for Tuesday, August 7th for the Michigan primary elections.
And if you can't vote, get your friends who don't usually vote out at the polls, either way. And we will take an 8-minute intermission. During this time, you can check out the booths and tables right outside, learn about Dr. Abdul, St. Jude, the program of Arab and Muslim American Studies, and definitely check out the gallery outside that was organized by Redefine, an organization on campus that showcases art of marginalized students.
We'll see you soon. backstage. I don't know, he found that. I found this sword. I have no idea what it's going to be used for. Do you happen to know?
No, but I think it's going to be used soon though.
Okay, I'll just put it down here for a second and then I'll pick it up.
That's perfect. So what we realized is like on social media, you're not posting.
Yeah.
So I want you to take out your phones right now. Take out your phones.
Where are you millennials at?
Check in on Facebook, go on Snapchat, flip to the, you know what, let's take a picture.
Let's take a picture. Everyone want to take a picture? Actually, it's gonna be a video. And remember, there are those 3 Snapchat filters. Just let me send that to my story.
Does it look good?
It looks
good. The lighting's bad. Let's take it. No, alright.
No, take one more. Do you want to take one more?
No, I'm good.
Okay, you seem like you wanted to take another one. I don't know.
You ready? Let's do it.
What? I'm not ready yet. I still want to know what this sword is about.
And the next dance for tonight, the Dabke group.
No,
Amana.
we're not. I want to know what that's for. Find out.
I'll be back.
Where are you going? You can't leave it. He's leaving again, and then he's going to tell me he's the best host. All right, please welcome our next dance of the night, Amana. No, we need it!
بلا ايفون 20 بلا بطيخ.
يا عمري يا حياتي يا روحي.
على راسي من فوق.
تقبرني حياتك.
You can be anything you want, as long as it's doctor, lawyer, or engineer.
صح على قلبك.
يلا تاكلي بعد.
أنا مش جعانة.
شو مش جعانة؟ اكلي بقى عشان تعملي رجيم انت؟
لا والله.
لا حول الا بالله.
لك عجبت انت الإنسان قاعد في الحيط ما عم تعمل شيء.
يا عمى بقلبك روح بلط البحر.
So Jed, how do you say piano in Arabic?
You don't know how to say piano in Arabic?
Isn't there some special word for it?
مين الشاطر اللي هون؟ That's right. And our next talent, please help us welcome Al-Piano, Nadeen Sukhon. Look at your fans. The next part of the night is one that helps us reflect on our identities and what it means to be Arab. We call this Spotlight.
Please welcome Nadeen Jawad, Yahya Alami Hafiz, and Arwa Gayar.
The title of the spoken words is We Exist. We exist. We exist in oppression and persecution and in education and agency. We've lived through torture and war by our power and resilience. Wars and bombs could not wipe out the fierceness of our brilliance. Through all of this, still, we exist. Calling me white won't stop my transgressor. And though this label itself is a social construct, it doesn't help when you paint me the same as my oppressor. Do you really expect me to check the same box as the people bringing us beatings and bombs, the same people that could not show an ounce of mercy, not even to our moms? When my dad fled the war, the US hesitated to open their door, but he worked every day to provide us with more, despite the fact this country's very system tried to keep him poor. And he studied and studied to pass the citizenship test. And though he wanted to explain the pain and disdain weighing down on his chest, instead he had to idolize white men who destroyed the Arab world at best to provide an opportunity for his children in the image of freedom this country tries to manifest. But I wonder what it felt like when they denied him this request, when they continued to group him with the people unoppressed. He is not white, he's Mina. We exist. As a kid, I had blonde hair and blue eyes. I normalized my identity as white, utilizing my American disguise. But when I turned 6, 2 planes crashed into the Twin Towers, and those with my identity who were darker were surveilled and discriminated against even harder. And though I tried to grapple at my features as my armor, dark hair, beards, and hijab, painted an X on our backs with a marker, you found us. You can see us. We exist. When your family is stripped of their home, their land, and their life, and they carve out bits and pieces of your identity using assimilation as the knife, choosing what parts to celebrate and leaving us to deal with the rest in strife, you would be confused as to how they won't give us a demographic but can still identify us. And without numbers, where can our community begin to discuss the feelings we share of hurt and disgust? We exist. Picture a 20-year-old on her first day of public policy school, analyzing data sets with no Arabs in the population pool. Our health, our graduation, our success, and more, no record of any of it, and makes me sick to my core. We ask for this recognition because we have no understanding of our community to the point where the very presence of a box would magnify our unity. We still can't count diplomas and degrees. We can't even track our community's success because all we can check is other every time we document our progress. We are called white, but aren't given the associated advantage. If I am white, I would see people that look like me who have a seat at the table, who would defend my homeland instead of making it unstable. But instead, they put taps in our phones, they place travel bans on our people, triple-checked before our flights, asking me if my existence is legal. I know you don't see me as white. I know you've seen the mass murder of our people on the news every night. I still think about the ethnic cleansing happening to my people, where the only thing separating us are the waves of an ocean. I could have been victim of the institutionalized cleansing the US set into motion. So when I bring these concerns to light, don't tell me that my arguments cannot have elements of emotion when you won't even acknowledge my community's demotion. This anger, this sadness, this love for my people is an unwavering demotion. Don't write off my response as a reason to ignore this country's poison. Our people's character has been molded and fine-tuned to resist. In the beauty of life dances in our eyes, even when violence persists. When your family shattered an entire path through an ocean to give you an education, fled their lands for our nation, for a better nation, calling us white leaves this history out of our narration. It's not just a box on a form, we exist. Of course, a box cannot validate us, but MENA is a pathway to understand the struggle. When the policy was made, calling us white was a plus. Now we are asking for our systems to stop marginalizing us. Though a box will not define the existence so ingrained in my roots, I will not let 4 lines on a paper allow you to keep my people mute. In the Middle Eastern, North African category is our identity. And we will yell yallah, wallah, and smallah breathlessly. And we will continue to fill the shoes of our ancestors' legacy. And maybe when we take this on collectively, you will recognize objectively we exist.
Check, check. This is not, and I am not a terrorist poem. This is not a poem that will comfort you. This is not a poem that will make you feel more at ease around my defiant Arab presence. This poem does not want you to be comfortable. This poem does not want your saviorhood. This poem does not care for your sympathy. This poem does not care for validation through your gaze. No. This poem is a threat, the way my body is perceived. I hope this poem scares you the way my beard scares passengers away from me on the bus. I hope this poem terrifies you the way my keffiyeh wrap face terrifies people when I'm trying to stay warm in the snow. I hope this poem keeps you up at night the way US-funded bombs keep my peoples up at night. This poem is angry. This poem is violent. This poem is anti-police. This poem is anti-Zionism. This poem is anti-imperialism. This poem is anti-white supremacy. This poem is anti-military. This poem is for abolition. This poem is for reparations. This poem is for decolonization, land repatriation, self-determination, complete and holistic autonomy. This poem wants the fall of the regime. I said, Shehade yurid isqat in-nizam. This poem rejects the US settler state. This poem is queer as hell. This poem rejects repression. This poem rejects power. This poem rejects the nation state. This poem is resistance by any and all means necessary. This poem is a threat. This poem is terrorism the way the PLO was terrorism, the way the Black Panthers were terrorism, the way BLM black identity extremists are terrorism, the way Mandela's anti-apartheid was terrorism, the way the Zapatistas' indigenous resistance was terrorism. This poem is a crime the way civil disobedience is a crime, the way impeding legalized police executions is a crime, the way whistleblowing on the state is a crime, the way sabotaging exploitative work conditions is a crime, the way disrupting genocide advocating speakers is a crime, the way vagrancy laws make homelessness a crime, the way gang injunction laws make existing in your neighborhood a crime, the way the DHS is countering violent extremism program makes prayer a crime. This poem is criminal the way burning draft documents was criminal, the way exposing COINTELPRO was criminal, the way Puerto Ricans taking over the Statue of Liberty to support their independence was criminal, the way trans women of color in Stonewall throwing bricks at police was criminal. This poem is a threat. This poem is for Al-Quds, Gaza, and all of Palestine from the river to the sea. This poem is for Aleppo and all of Syria. This poem is for Egypt. This poem is for Yemen. This poem is for Morocco. This poem is for Iraq. This poem is for Iran. For displaced Armenians, Assyrians, and Circassians. For displaced Hmong, Tibetans, and Cham. For Swana. For Chiapas. For Mindanao. For the Jeju Islands. For Cambodia, Laos, and Vietnam. For Oakland. For Detroit and Flint. This poem is for Standing Rock. For the Kanaka Maoli of colonized Hawaii. For the Kumeyaay of colonized San Diego and Mexico. For the Anishinaabe of colonized Michigan and Canada. For all those under ongoing colonialism. This poem is for the Yemeni who was the first martyr of the United Farm Worker Movement. For the Palestinians who smuggled letters helped Angela Davis survive prison. For the organization of Arab students and the General Union of Palestinian Students, building power with radical third world movements in the 60s. For the children using origami, flowers, and graffiti to resist in Syria. For the Syrian mothers using street theater and manifestos to resist. For the ASA using cultural expressions to resist. This poem is criminal. This poem is outlawed. This poem is unacceptable. This poem is not okay. This poem is for liberation.
Let me tell you the greatest love story of our generation. It's not like those you see on TV, but between Arab children and their mother country. A love so sweet, it's as soothing to your heart as lemon and honey, and mispronounced words, sometimes we find it funny. But being part of an ageless love story, aren't we lucky? To care about something so much, it causes us sorrow. And I'll try to show you. This is our story. Walk with me. We are the kids whose lives were tossed up in the lottery for a green card. For those of us undocumented, this country's borders became bars. This is a voice of a timeless past and a future so concrete. Longing for the land some of us have never felt beneath our feet. And you wonder, how can we hold an infatuation so sweet? Well, tell me, have you ever dissected an Arab mother's prayer? Have you heard the hope she carries for a country that now only exists in her memories? And she keeps it alive every morning, singing Arab melodies, using our humor to cope and dancing for remedies. Tell me, have you witnessed the smile lines creased by years of emotion on an Arab father's face? A map of joy that could never be erased. Sometimes I wonder if the sound of his laugh echoes back to his birthplace. Do you see it? And how careful they raise their children to recognize their legacy, where in every aspect of our lives they reminded us of our identity, how we learn to carry our heritage so proud with integrity, knowing our experience here won't always be one of equity. And so, as the children of those dealt the same hand, when we came onto this campus, we found loose ends of the same strand, decided to tie them together over a history of a shared land, and we painted our foundation to lay our heritage down on, making a community to be there even after we are long gone. Can't you see us? Asking each other, what does that word mean, when we pronounce the same word with a jim and a gim? Mixing dialects only ever crossed in songs and on movie screens, and without knowing it, we stitch together two worlds into one continuous scene. And you find that language between you is that of empathy. The blood running in your veins carries the same ancestry, and their love for your country becomes yours too. It's not learning how to be Egyptian, Iraqi, or a mix of the two. It's learning how to be Arab, because in this country, they don't recognize either of you. But Have you seen a young Palestinian boy Dabke, mending his broken Arabic with fluency in his dance, leading the line with a kufiya in his hand at every possible chance? Do you see it? Have you heard my Lebanese friend singing Fayrouz, her voice quivering at every note, trying not to hold the entire legacy of a timeless icon in her throat? Can you hear it? Have you seen the ancient city of Sham in a Syrian girl's eyes? Have you seen a youthful gaze so quickly turn wise? And though just 20 years old, her words carry a history far beyond her years, a timeless love for the city that would move you to tears. Can you see it? To exist is to persist. And I cannot see a country embodied so fully in a child of diaspora without admiring the strength of a unity that can tie together the west of Asia to the edges of Africa. And so as long as I remain, your struggle will be my struggle, and your hurt is my pain. And together, we can take on all that makes us afraid. Do you see it? In the movement we found here on campus long before we came in the generations of curly-haired activists and stock market strategists, filling up Near Eastern Studies with future med school graduates, talking about your research being requested as a panelist, and in every field we enter, having to be an Arab advocate. Can you hear us? In the screams and tears of joy, filling up a lecture hall during divestment, over words on a paper that took generations to pass, and the resolutions and policy proposals we write for the university, not for class. We exist. It's getting put on a blacklist and the dean's list in the same semester, doing the work that was supposed to fall on the shoulders of your professors. But don't you know our parents paved pathways through broken lands? So why not break the concrete here and face the unplanned? Create another narrative of ourselves besides just camels and sand. We exist. Do not deny the legacy we carry just because it's unfamiliar. Can you feel us in the stitching of the tatriz and in the stamps of our Dabke? Can you hear us singing Kulthum over the beat of a tabla? Can you see us in a hijab and a kufiya, a cross and a galabiya, rewriting in every step, word, and dance this complicated love story of being Arab in America? Please give another round of applause for our artists for their beautiful spoken words.
And our last talent for tonight, please give it up for Mäzen, Oweiss.
فرحتي بيك ازاي صعب عليا اكتر يا قلبي ما بحلم بأملكي ما في ايديا انا ليك وعمري ما اكون يا حبيبي غير ليك روحي شاغلها دي الثانية وانت بعيد
بها يستحملها. أنا ليك وعمري ما أكون يا حبيبي غير ليك، روحي شاغلها دي الثانية وانت بعيد، ازاي قلبي هيستحملها. أنا ليك وعمري ما أكون يا حبيبي غير ليك، روحي شاغلها دي الثانية وانت بعيد، ازاي قلبي هيستحملها. أشوفك قصادي يا ريت هواك، ده كان حب عادي يا ريت هواك. أشوفك قصادي يا ريت هواك، ده كان حب عادي جنبك حياتي دي أجمل حياة. ليل نهاري تعال حبيبي، ده أنا حبيبي خدني ليه. خلاص ما انت شايف من غير ما اقول، اكيد انت عارف كلام كتير انا نفسي اقوله، كلام كتير يا ريتك تقوله، جنبك حياتي دي اجمل حياه. يلا ليل نهاري تعال حبيبي، لا ما حبيبي خدني قلبي يا حبيبي خاف عليك. ليل نهاري تعال حبيبي، لا ما حبيبي خدني ليك. شكرا.
Let's give another round of applause for the second greatest talent to make it out of Egypt, behind Mohammed Salah.
In our last Dabke group of the night, بدنا نجن, بدنا ننط, بدنا نولعها. Give it up for الشباب.
يلا لازم شفنا اسمع شو لسه طب اسمعوا جربوا على تحت فتحت
Speaking of Lucia, and you guys want to come to the Arab Xpressions show on February 17th, and it just showcases Dabke and just different Arabic expressions and skits. It's supposed to be really funny. We have our first dance tonight at 7 p.m. at West Park.
This again? I don't know. It actually looks kind of cool. Okay, guys, so.
I don't know, what do you guys think? I think it sounds pretty cool, actually. I mean, aren't they gonna have, like, free food?
Guys, I can't dance for the life of me.
Don't worry, guys. I can teach you. Woo! You guys ready? It's gonna be a great time. Learn how chef kids. Dabke 101. Yeah! Woo! 5, 6, 7, 8. They suck.
They got a lot of work to do.
I hope you learned from that video.
What do you mean, Jad?
You're not even an ASA.
Yes, I am. I'm the co-host this evening.
But you only went to 2 meetings?
Excuse me? All right. Please welcome our favorite and last part, alhamdulillah, of the night, representing all 22 Arab countries, the fashion show.
طلع
From 7 to 9 p.m. Mark your calendars for Middle East and North African graduation.
And this ends our show. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we hosted it. One last piece. I'd like to welcome the co-presidents of the Arab Student Association, Basil Salka and Rasha Jawad. And then also would like to call up the president of Arabesque, Maya Yunus. And 3 senior choreographers, Asil Haidar, Malak Bazit, and Andrea Sakoudi.
We have flowers for you too. And just hold on to one, I guess. I want to thank everyone here for coming out. This is a lot of people, and it's amazing to see everyone here. Yeah, give yourself a round of applause. This event could not have been possible without the help of every single person on this stage and beyond. Especially, I want to give a shout out to the ASA e-board. Small things from the programs, to the lights, to the sound, to the videos, all are perfect because of them. So let's give them a round of applause. I want to see them on the stage. Come on. Come on.
I'd like to call them out by name because this wouldn't have been possible without them. From right to left, we have Rami Ibrahim, we have, I'll keep going, Tarek Mukawi, Julian Mishra, Muhammad Al-Halimoon, who else we have? Murat Habib, Abbas Al-Hassan, and Aïd Al-Had. Thank you all for coming, and hopefully see you here next year, right?